Who's the best in the Big Ten? Let's call it a fluid and developing situation with a number of teams in the running. Welcome to the Voice of College Football as we break down the game we all love each and every day. Hit that like button even if you don't agree with me. If you enjoy the content, best discussion, debate, and analysis of college football each and every day with you, hit that like button. And, of course, once you subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. All right, let's run it down. Our Big Ten power rankings. Let's start from the bottom. And the one distinction of Illinois this season may be that they won a game, unlike anybody else in the conference, in August. And it may turn out to be the only game they win this year. 1-4 after the opening win against Nebraska for the Illini. They most recently lost to Purdue. They failed to reach the end zone, losing 13-9. Lost to Texas San Antonio, a good group of five, but still a group of five, who's now 4-0, and they lost by 4 touchdowns to Virginia. Brett Bielema off to a good start in week 0, not since the Illini are 1-4, taking on Charlotte in non-conference play this Saturday. At number 13, we've got Northwestern. Quarterback issues and not necessarily a vintage defense with the Wildcats. They're coming off a win over Ohio, 35-6. They've won 2 games against the FCS and the MAC. Otherwise, it's been a rough go in 2021, losing against Michigan State by 3 scores, and then also losing at Duke, in which they gave up 30 points in the first half. This is not a good Northwestern team to date. They go to Nebraska this Saturday night to try to notch a win in the Big Ten. At number 12 is the team that suffered the most embarrassing loss in the conference. Make that the most embarrassing loss in college football in week 4. It's Minnesota. Minnesota notched one of the most impressive wins in the nation the week before. They won 30-0 at Colorado, giving up 63 yards of total offense. They come home and they lose to Bowling Green as a 31-point favorite, 14-10. Trey Potts had about 150 yards rushing, but Tanner Morgan, 5 of 13 through the air. What has happened to him? P.J. Fleck in Minnesota now at 2-2 as they take on Purdue on the road this Saturday. At number 11, we've got Nebraska. With the aforementioned loss to Illinois, the Huskers have played very tough against 2 quality opponents the last 2 weeks, losing by 1 score to Oklahoma, then again finding a way to lose against Michigan State on the road. This Nebraska defense gave up 0 first downs in the second half, basically dominated the game, but they still found a way to have a special teams gaffe, throw a pick in overtime, and lost 23-20. So for Nebraska coming up this weekend, Northwestern at home. Our number 10 team in the conference, Purdue. The Boilers are 3-1. Got a win against Oregon State, who turned around and blew out USC this past weekend. The Boilers with their one loss, a respectable one, on the road in South Bend, a game that went down to a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. Aiden O'Connell, much like he did against Notre Dame, had to come in and save Purdue football against Illinois, scoring the touchdown in the fourth quarter to win it 13-9. But more so it was the defense. Without David Bell on offense at wide receiver and also Xander Horvath. So the 2 playmakers on offense gone from the Purdue attack, and the defense won it over Illinois 13-9. Purdue, Minnesota, big game for Purdue coming up this Saturday. At number 9, we've got the most disappointing team in the conference thus far. That's Wisconsin. But keep in mind, despite the 41-13 loss, the Badgers have only lost 1 game in conference play, and it was out of the division. They still have the division in their grasp if they can turn it around. And to do so, they're going to have to turn around Graham Mertz. He threw 4 picks, 2 pick sixes on Saturday. This was a defense that, if anybody just looks at the score, gave up 41 points. They did not give up 41 points. This is one of the best defenses in college football. 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, gave up less than 300 yards of total offense to Notre Dame, but everybody else let them down. The offense and the special teams, Wisconsin now 1-2, taking on Michigan at Camp Randall on Saturday. At number 8, we've got Indiana. With high hopes in the offseason, the Hoosiers have already lost twice, to Iowa, to Cincinnati. in the first game. That was a run away from the first quarter on, got away from them early with a couple Michael Penix pick six interceptions. Penix had to throw it 53 times this past Saturday night to hold off Western Kentucky 33-31. Indiana now 2-2 with the loss to Cincinnati, a game in which they had the ball inside the 10-yard line to take the lead in the final 5 minutes. But Indiana at 2-2 go to Happy Valley in Penn State as a kind of a revenge tour game for Penn State. Of course, Michael Penix stretching for the pylon in overtime, and Indiana defeating Penn State last year 36-35. The Hoosiers, a big underdog at Penn State this weekend. At number 7, we've got Rutgers, and yes, they lost this past weekend, but probably gained more respect for Rutgers football than anything we've seen come out of this program in forever. Greg Schiano is doing a heck of a job. The Scarlet Knights are now 3-1, having lost to Michigan 20-13, but they dominated the second half of that game, but still came up short. Rutgers hosting Ohio State in Piscataway this weekend. The Scarlet Knights are our number 7 team in the Big Ten. And oh yeah, number 6, Ohio State. The Buckeyes pretty much played a scrimmage game against Akron this past weekend at the Shoe, winning 59-7. Kyle McCord got the start and threw for over 300 yards. The Buckeyes with a disappointing loss, of course, against Oregon. Disappointing efforts against Minnesota and Tulsa, but the Buckeyes will step back into Big Ten play against Rutgers this Saturday. At number 5, we've got a very intriguing team out of the Big Ten Eastern Division, Maryland. The Terps are 4-0. They have notched wins in conference against Illinois, 20-17 with the last-second field goal. Impressive outing against West Virginia in Week 1. And the Terps fire the alarms. This could be an upset bid here. Maryland hosting Iowa, and they've got the national stage all to themselves on Friday night. Our number 5 team in the Big Ten, Maryland. At number 4, the aforementioned Michigan Wolverines at 4-0 with their least impressive performance to date against Rutgers, struggling mightily in the run game in the second half. Michigan held on for a 20-13 win. The Wolverines go to the site of many, many embarrassing defeats in recent years, Camp Randall Stadium and Wisconsin this Saturday at 4-0. Our number 3 team in the Big Ten did not play like it this past Saturday night, but many championship teams survive scares, and Michigan State did that on Saturday in East Lansing. They didn't pick up a first down in the second half. They were completely shut down. They did pick up a special teams touchdown and an interception in overtime to seal the win and beat Nebraska 23-20. So Michigan State with impressive wins over Northwestern and Miami. Survive and advance was the mode in their second Big Ten game of the season. This past Saturday, Michigan State takes on Western Kentucky. Don't mark it as a win automatically. Of course, we mentioned to you, Western Kentucky beat Indiana, or scared Indiana this past Saturday night, 33-31. Our number 3 team, Michigan State. 1 and 2, very close. I actually believe that the number 2 team in our power rankings is the better of the two, but the number 1 team is the better resume. At number 2, I've got Penn State at 4-0. The Auburn win doesn't look quite as impressive now that the Tigers barely lucked out against Georgia State. Look into that one and see how Auburn escaped with a win. Penn State with a win against Wisconsin. That one doesn't look as impressive. Wisconsin, I still believe to be a quality team. Penn State at 4-0, our number 2 team, and hosting Indiana on Saturday. And finally, the number 1 team in the Big Ten since Week 1. Since annihilating Indiana and then going to Iowa State and defeating the Cyclones, who have since lost to Baylor. So the wins have been compromised for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but still the 2 best wins in the conference to date. Iowa coming off a comeback win against Colorado State in which they trailed by 7 at halftime. We've got the Hawkeyes at 4-0 at number 1 in the Big Ten, but with a key and interesting affair at College Park this Friday night. Let's run them down in the Big Ten, and of course, you can leave your power rankings below and let me know what you think of mine. Iowa 1, Penn State 2, Michigan State 3, Michigan 4. Maryland rounds out the top 5. The Buckeyes are 6, Rutgers 7. At number 8, Indiana. Wisconsin 9. Number 10 is Purdue. 11 is Nebraska. 12 is Minnesota. Number 13 is Northwestern. And the worst team in the Big Ten right now, with a worse resume as well, the Fighting Illini of Illinois. We will see you soon. Of course, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football, and we'll see you next time.